Hello everyone, my name is Neilatuz Zahra, and this video will be an explanation about one feature of phonetics. Well, I will give you a short explanation about phonetics first. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies speech sounds and how they are produced, transmitted, and perceived. It focuses on the physical properties of sounds rather than their meaning. Phonetics is commonly divided into articulatory phonetics, which examines how sounds are made by the speech organs, then acoustic phonetics, which studies the sound waves, and the last is auditory phonetics, which focuses on how sounds are heard and processed. One important feature of phonetics is suprasegmental features.
According to Cambridge Dictionary, suprasegmental is defined as relating to a speech feature such as stress or pitch that affects more than one speech sound. But that's something you could easily search up on Google by yourself, right? The real question is, do you understand what that means? If not, hi. My name is Ayasha with student number 123241020, and my job here is to introduce you to what suprasegmental features are and why they matter for how we speak and understand language. First, I'll give you a simple but deeper definition unlike the one earlier. So, suprasegmental features, sometimes called prosodic features, are properties of speech that stretch over more than one sound. So, they don't belong to a single consonant or vowel. Instead, they apply to syllables, words, phrases, or whole sentences. Examples are stress, intonation, and rhythm. Now, you may ask, why is this important? Well, because these features are part of the music of language. They help us show which words are important in a sentence. They help express whether the sentence is a question or a statement. And they could mark emotion and sometimes could even change a word's meaning. Not only that, mastering suprasegmental features also improves how well you're understood, how well you understand others, and it also affects one's ability to convey attitudes or emotions, which is why when we learn to pronounce things, we focus heavily on stress and intonation, not only on individual sounds. Next, my group mates will go into the main suprasegmental features one by one to explain them further, and they'll explain stress, intonation, and rhythm.
Hello with me again. Now I will explain about stress. Stress. Stress refers to the emphasis placed on certain syllables in a word or on a particular word in a sentence. This emphasis is usually marked by greater loudness, longer duration, and higher pitch. Because stress works beyond individual sounds, it is categorized as a suprasegmental feature. Stress plays an important role in helping listeners understand the meaning and the speaker intention. Stress placement refers to where the stress occurs within a word. In English, stress placement is not fixed and can vary depending on the word. Well, for example, I give you two examples. First one is, there's two same word but different stress placement. This one is verb and the second one is noun. You see that the stress placement, the verb is on the second syllable and the noun is on the first syllable. Same with this, present and present. Stress placement can differ lexical categories. There are three levels of stress, and I defined from the strongest to the weakest. The first one is primary stress, the second one is secondary stress, and the third one, the weakest one, is unstressed. For example, I give you one example. The pronunciation. You see that the tick in the below is the secondary stress, and the one at the top is the primary stress, and the other syllable that has no mark is the unstressed syllable. In everyday language, stress is used to emphasize important information and express emotions or attitudes. Speakers often stress certain words to show contrast or clarify meaning. Even though people may not consciously realize they are using stress, this implies naturally through change in pitch, loudness, and length of sound. Well, for example, stressing a word more strongly can show excitement, while reducing stress may suggest sarcasm. I have one example. The first one is, that was amazing, compared with, that was amazing. Different, right? That's how we naturally imply stress in everyday language.
Now, let's move to stress in a word compound. A word compound is made up of two or more words that creates one meaning. According to Roach 2020, stress in English compounds usually falls on the first element. But what's important is that the stress pattern can also change the meaning of the compound. One example is the phrase time flies. If I say time flies with the stress on time, it actually refers to a type of insect. But if I say time flies with the stress on time, flies, it means that time is passing quickly. So the placement of stress tells us which meaning is intended. Next, we have stress on word collocation. Word collocations are two or more words that often appear together. McCarthy and Odell 2018 explain that in collocations, stress usually falls in the content word, the word that carries the real meaning. For example, in the phrase make a decision, the stress falls on the word decision. In pouring rain, the stress is in pouring, and in do your homework, the stress falls in the word homework. In direct speaking, placing stress correctly helps the listeners immediately understand what you are intending to say.
So, for the next material is intonation in suprasegmental. And what is actually the definition of intonation? So, the intonation is the linguistic study of how pattern of pitch variation in speech convey meaning, structure, and emotion, going beyond individual words to affect sentence interpretation, functioning like a melody with the specific rules like tones, accents, breaks, like for questions, emphasize, or spellings rather than just random pitch changes. Okay, before we go further about the material of intonation in linguistics, I would like to explain a little explanation about lexical tone language, and the second one is non-lexical tone language. So, what are they? So, actually, the lexical tone language, you can find it in some languages like Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, etc. And this type of language will change the meaning if you produce with a different sound, such as when you are talking Chinese language, in the words ma with a high level tone, it means mother. Yeah, but if you produce with a different tone and sound, like ma with a high level tone and low dipping tone, it means horse, like that. Okay, for the second one is non-lexical tone language. We can find it with English, Indonesian, German, French, etc. And this type of non-lexical tone language is opposite from the another one. And this type will not change the meaning. So for the additional information about the intonation in linguistics, so the intonation sometimes determines whether it is questions or information sentence, such as when you are facing these sentences, she goes to Jakarta, they sometimes they look alike, right? But if we or you produce with a different tone in the last word, like she goes to Jakarta, she goes to Jakarta, it shows like information sentence. But if you produce with a higher tone in the last words, like she goes to Jakarta, she goes to Jakarta, it shows the questions sentence like that.
Hello everyone, my name is Banyu Iman A. Today I'll be talking about rhythm in spoken English. Rhythm is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in speech. It controls the timing of how we speak and helps language sounds natural and fluent rather than robotic or flat. In English, not all syllables are equal. Some syllables are stressed and said more clearly and strongly, while others is unstressed and spoken more soft quickly. This regular pattern of strong and weak syllables is what gives English its natural flow, where dream speech may seem still be incorrect, but it can sound unnatural and difficult to follow. English is known as stress-timed language. This means that almost the time between stress levels usually stay almost the same, even if there's many unstressed syllables in between. For example, in phrase walk to the shop, the stressed words are work and shops. If we say walk to the the big new shop, the stressed words remain strong and the unstressed words are spoken faster. So even though the sentence become longer, the rhythm stay consistent. These key factors of natural English speech is important for learners to understand and practice. Rhythms also plays a very important role in the communication. First, it's help listeners to understand speech more easily. Second, it's help identify which words are important. And finally, it's help them to recognize natural spoken English. If writing is incorrect, the speech may sound stressed or hard to understand, even the pronunciation is accurate. For example, in the sentence, I want to go home, the stress word called the main meaning. If all words are stressed equally, the message becomes less clear. This is why rhythm is essentially for effective spoken communication. To conclude, suprasegmental features go beyond individual sounds and operates across syllables, words, and sentence. The main suprasegmental features are stress, intonation, and rhythms. Stress highlight how important syllables or words that can even change meaning. Intonation shows attitude, emotions, and wherever sentence is a statement or a question. Rhythm organize a speech timing through patterns of stress and unstressed syllables. When speakers use these features properly, their speech becomes clearer, more natural, and easier to understand. In suprasegmental helps speakers communicate meaning accurately and it's help listeners to interpret message correctly. Thank you.